Imagine losing $200,000 in 10 seconds. Now imagine losing $108 million in the blink of an eye. Former NBA star Antoine Walker managed to do both. Everybody's heard the old stat regarding the lottery. 70% of people who hit the jackpot end up going broke within 3 to 5 years. The people who win simply don't know how to handle the immense amount of wealth that has fallen into their lap, and it ends up destroying them. It doesn't help when family and friends come out of the woodwork looking for some loot. But it's tough to expect someone who's never had much money at all to know how to wield this financial power. The same phenomena happens with professional athletes. While their money doesn't come to them with a stroke of luck, nearly all professional athletes lack experience dealing with millions of dollars prior to landing life-changing contracts. Inevitably, this ends up with some athletes taking on ungodly expenses and neglecting to acknowledge that their future earnings, both in and out of the league, can't possibly hold up their lifestyle. This is what happened to NBA star Antoine Walker, who rose from the bottom to wealth and stardom. He was raised in poverty, the eldest of 6 siblings. With his mother already doing all she could to raise her 6 children, Walker was forced to help raise his siblings at a young age. Even with all this added work, he managed to secure a full scholarship to the University of Kentucky by way of his excellent basketball talents. As a standout forward, Walker was drafted with the 6th overall pick in the 1996 NBA draft by the Celtics. Expectations on a then young Walker were sky high. Immediately, Walker impressed fans, media, and NBA colleagues. He averaged 17.5 points in his rookie season, and he would go on to average over 20 for 6 more seasons. He was an All-Star 3 times and even won a championship in Miami with Shaq and D-Wade towards the end of his career. So, as you can imagine, Walk got paid. Like, paid. His days of poverty had been in the rearview mirror for a while by the time he was set to leave the NBA. To clarify, by the time he hung up his jersey, Walker had made just over $108 million. But that money wasn't going to support Walker on the lavish lifestyle he'd grown used to, or offset the questionable investments he made over his career. While he was in the league, Walker had acquired an expensive taste for flashy cars and clothes. He made a few astounding admissions on his spending habits to Sports Illustrated, explaining why he went broke so fast. Walker claims he had not just 1 or 2 luxury cars in his playing days, but 7. This includes what he claimed was the worst purchase of all of his questionable purchases, a Maybach Mercedes-Benz. At the time, the going price for one of these beasts was $450,000. That's nearly $500,000 right there on one car. Walker laments this purchase and sees it as now losing $200,000 almost instantaneously, because the car's value plummeted as soon as he drove it off the lot. But he didn't think that way when he was raking in the big bucks. If one of Walker's teammates rolled up to practice in something that looked nice, Walker would go out and buy the same model because, why not? The man had over $100 million in the bank. Dropping a casual couple $100,000 was light work. And it wasn't just the cars. Walker had to go out in the nicest clothes and laden in jewelry, claiming he never wore the same designer suit twice. Money was flying out the window left and right. And if the money wasn't going towards buying gaudy items for himself, it was going towards his friends, family, and agents. Walker estimates that by buying his inner circle mansions, giving them money for personal ventures, and employing an agent to keep the contracts coming, he spent just over $36 million on things that came with zero return. Just by keeping his entourage around cost Walker $8.5 million. Between partying, going out, and dressing his buddies almost as well as he dressed himself, it's no surprise he made $108 million evaporate. Another factor that drained Walker's wallet was his gambling habits. Walker was a frequent customer of big-name Vegas casinos after his career ended. Places like the Red Rock Resort, Caesars Palace, and Planet Hollywood. By Walker's estimate, he lost about $4 million in Vegas alone. It got so bad that all 3 of the previously mentioned establishments reported Walker for writing checks his bank account could no longer cash. But the real knockout punch came from the Great Recession. It had nothing to do with a lavish lifestyle or other athletes gone broke tropes. It was a presumed smart investment gone horribly awry. Walker had invested over $20 million in real estate. When the market crashed, Walker was forced to pay every penny to the bank. This ended up being the straw that broke the camel's back, and Walker filed for bankruptcy in 2010. Less than 2 years after playing his final NBA game, Walker had blown through an entire career's worth of cash, $108 million. He was forced to repay all of his gambling debts and even had to sell his championship ring to help pay back debt. Given that Walker initially rose from the ashes like a phoenix, highlighting his perseverance, it should come as no shock to learn this story does have a happy ending. Walker has been debt-free since 2012. He is now a walking, breathing example of what happens to star athletes who aren't frugal enough with their earnings. And instead of hiding that fact, he's embraced it. Walker has done plenty of talks on news shows and in front of NBA players to stress the importance of financial literacy. He has released a documentary called Gone in an Instant that details his slide into bankruptcy. While Walker is nowhere close to a millionaire now, he can still live comfortably with his family in Chicago. He currently works as a sports analyst for 120 Sports and will surely be talking about his rags to riches tale for years to come. One thing is certain though, Walker will not be the last athlete to blow through cash, but at least he is an example that hitting rock bottom is not a death sentence for a once loaded pro. Hopefully, other athletes can learn from his mistakes. Thank you all for watching. As always, I'm Frank Smith. You can follow me at FMS_Frank Smith and follow ClutchPoints at ClutchPoints. If you enjoyed this mini doc, check out our huge library on our ClutchPoints Facebook, IGTV, and YouTube. Until next time.